Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming back for the evening's presentation. And a special thank you to Hugh for including me in this year's event. It's quite a treat to have an opportunity to address this audience and put some of my work into the context of the previous presentations that we've heard today. We've heard from Peter and we've heard from John on the stage this issue of fertility being central amongst other things, of course, in what we understand to have been the purpose of the megalithic impulse. And I think to bear in mind that the megalithic structures were created by the farming communities. We see sacred sites belonging to nomadic peoples around the world, but the real impulse to create henges, circles and eggs, pyramids and so forth seem clearly to have been related to an agricultural community, and so we would anticipate that there is in fact genuine and material agricultural benefit from those efforts. In this country we know that we've had 6,500 years of sustainable agriculture, and over the last 100 years perhaps our practices have been in some respects less enlightened, and as our environment changes in the way that it does and we are concerned about food production and about our place in the wider realm of things, I think we're very much looking to sustainable solutions and to look and see how we can continue a sustainable practice over the next 6,500 years. So megaliths and dragons and things for people to eat. Explore this together. So we consider subtle energies in the landscape, and we understand that our megalithic structures have fundamental relationship to those subtle energies, the patterns of underground water, the patterns of lines of ley energy and the other earth grids, condensations in a Schumann resonance and so forth. And so we should say subtle energies are present both within and around us. We are of our planet. We would consider them to be beyond the range of the human five-sense perception, remembering that our senses are very limited in nature. What we see for visible light is a wafer-thin section of the electromagnetic spectrum. What we hear for sound is only a narrow range of vibratory frequencies. And so most of what is around us is in fact imperceptible to us. Perhaps more than 99% of what's around us is imperceptible to us, and yet still it's around us and is operating all of the time beyond our sense perception. And to say that subtle energies affect living systems depending on the quality and character of the energy, whether it's a yin chi or a yang chi, whether it's a long wave or a short wave, and also on the sensitivity of the system. And as we'll see, different plants and animals are sensitive in different ways and have varying preferences depending on the energy concerned. I think it's important that we take our information and guiding principles both from the grand traditions that we've been exploring through the day, but also from contemporary physics in terms of an integrated science, an integrated wisdom of sustainability. We want to take everything we possibly can and try and put it together in sensible ways. We have wonderful and poetic terms for traditional naming of subtle energy. We have the ether and the chi, we have prana, the noom is the life force of the Kalahari bush people, ode and orga, and various categorizations we've had. Tragically, our contemporary physics allows us only electricity, magnetism, gravity, and weak and strong nuclear forces, but we should quickly say that these are contemporary names for the same thing. Our earth energies are telluric currents of electromagnetic nature arising from inside of the earth, and the resonances of the Schumann and other resonances in the cavity surrounding us created by the sun. And so we are studying all the same things, whatever language map we put on it, and we should be careful not to create divisions between areas of study based on language alone. Quick little bit of of physics then behind us, we know that all self-sustaining field forms have a toroidal shape, whether that's a person or a planet or a stalk of wheat, a solar system or a galaxy. And the Earth's magnetic field, the geomagnetic field, has been mentioned several times today, created by the internal magnetism of the Earth coming up from under our feet and surrounding us in the safe and resonant cavity that contains our atmosphere. Identically, our heartbeat creates a magnetic field around us, a cardiomagnetic field, and so in every regard, the subtle energies of a person or of a plant are exactly the same as those of the planet, only different in scale. The Earth's magnetic field comes up below our feet, variably, depending on the geology and whether there's presence of water or minerals in our geological formation below us. And so we have this DC field around us coming up from below, the mother womb, as it were. And then the pater, the father, or the yang energy is coming from the solar wind. As you can see, very irresponsibly, the Creator has put a nuclear reactor next to our planet. And the solar wind beats constantly on the edge of the womb of the geomagnetic field, establishing a wide range of resonances, just as in a drum or in a violin or in a guitar. The primary resonance, the primary resonant frequency is known as the Schumann resonance, 7.83 beats per second, wave per second. Significantly, that is the exact midpoint of the 4 octaves that our brains work over. And so, literally, subtle energy inside of us and outside of us is perfectly balanced and matched. We are of the Earth. Our brain, our consciousness resonances are identical to those filling the atmosphere around us. This is a geomagnetic map of the Earth. We can see yellow is low points and blue and purple progressively high points, and so we see immediately a great heterogeneity of the expression of magnetism and therefore of bioelectricity and life force around the planet. And if we look discretely at one landmass, we can see very large differences depending on whether the area has been volcanic and is created from igneous rock, or whether the area is based on sedimentary rock, which has much lower magnetic properties. So clearly, when there are high points and low points next to each other, we get travel and passage of magnetism, of life force, of chi through the planet, following the most naturally conductive pathways, underground following water, and overground, as we've heard, following conductive points, mountaintops and crossing points of strong underground streams, which are the most conductive points on the surface of the planet, and then therefore allow the overground resonances to go to ground there. And these we call dragons. So whether you'd rather have a dragon or a telluric current depends on whether you have a poetic and artistic nature. In every regard, we can consider the human body and the body of the planet in similar ways. We're familiar with the meridian system of chi flow through a person, which would be balanced and brought into a state of coherence and health through acupuncture techniques. And similarly, we have meridians, chi pathways through the Earth, many of them very well mapped and well known. These will be familiar ones to you, and some of them much explored and written about and familiar. And just as in a person, the Earth meridians have a long tradition of being worked with through acupuncture and other techniques, clearly in the service of agriculture, creating balance and harmony through the Earth's meridians, optimizing fertility for landscape yield, both of plants and of animals. Many different ideas or practices or techniques we have of earth acupuncture, different images, depending on one's tradition. So, when we look in a very practical way at a place and at the subtle energies in it, we find that in a shamanic or a psychic sense, we have an ability to communicate and dialogue both with the physical and the non-physical components of landscape.